Back again for another last minute dressmaking expedition. This time I'm actually making a dress for the Odyssey film screening. I'm so excited to be going. I've been doing a kind of collaboration with Reading's Big Book Club. It's their first ever book club and they've been doing it on the Odyssey, and I've been sharing all of my learnings from the different lecturers that they've had come and speak about parts of the Odyssey. And I've been sharing it on my Substack, my Instagram, and it's been so incredible learning about, I guess, the deeper aspects of the Odyssey and like why it's been a book that we've just gone back to time and time again. So I'll leave the links to all my Substack articles if you want to read them. But in the meantime, the film comes out on Thursday. Today's Monday. So I've got today and Wednesday in the studio to make a dress. So let's do it. So this is some fabric that I've had. It's like this viscose kind of ribbed jersey. I have had this for 6 years and I need to make something out of it. So I'm like, look, this dress is going to be draped and beautiful. So this is a great amount of fabric to use for that dress. So I had some inspiration from Madame Grès because I've been doing, a lot of research on her and her beautiful draping. And I found some images, which I'll show you here. Actually, one of them was an Azzedine Alaïa dress and the other one was a Madame Grès dress, and he really loves Madame Grès, so I'm not surprised that they're quite similar. But I'm going to do something of the sort, very simple, easy to drape onto my mannequin and get done relatively quickly because I only really have like 6 hours to make the dress. So this is what the design looks like. So I was tossing up between kind of the shorter cape and the longer cape, but I think I did a poll on my Instagram and everyone seemed to like the longer cape, but I'm going to drape it on my mannequin and kind of see how I go. I also want to quickly thank Birch Creative for sponsoring this video. I've got some amazing product, especially since this is kind of my first time really working with jersey and stretch fabrics. It's like a whole new language for me. So a lot of ballpoint needles and very handy pins that have kind of these silicone edges. These ones are really good. These are from Taylor Seville, I think. And you can see they've kind of got like this textured end on them, so they're really easy to pin and grab out without kind of hurting your fingers. And some really great scissors and rulers, and so I'm really excited to share all that with you guys. And my learnings with, I guess primarily sewing with woven and going into using jersey and knit fabrics, what kind of products you need to make that easier for yourself without damaging your fabric too much. So let's start. So I feel like I'm so used to draping straight onto the mannequin. So this is really handy with my Mimikins mannequin because it is just a direct copy of my body. And I know how I want it to fit, so I can kind of pull the stretch fabric where I want it to sit around the neckline and know that once I slip it on, it'll just stretch open over my head and it'll fit pretty well. So it was great to just drape it straight onto the mannequin and get some pattern pieces off it. Alright, so now I've got my pattern pieces, so that's my front. What I'm actually going to do is, using this grid paper and my cutting mat, I'm going to actually lay my grid paper down first and then lay my traced out pattern piece that I draped onto the mannequin, line up the center front line like this, and this is just to get like my editable pattern piece. So it's the pattern piece that I'm going to also kind of slash and open, add seam allowance, all that kind of thing. So it's nice to actually start with grid, so you kind of know where you are in terms of grey line and stuff, and then the final one I'll do just on plain pattern paper. I'm going to use my rotary cutter and I might actually place some weight candles on top of it so the fabric doesn't stretch too much while I'm cutting around it. This one's handy. I actually have another rotary cutter, but this one's really good because it's like, it only clicks, like the sharp edge is only there while you're using it and then instantly it clicks away. You don't have to like manually click it away because we want to be safe with sharp things. I've got a pattern piece, and then I can kind of start from there. So the other thing that I wanted to do with this was kind of slash and open it a bit more, so the waist is going to gather in even more. So at the moment, I've got my fashion square here, or dressmaking square, and I've got my French curve. So I'm going to use this for the armholes and the neckline, and I'm going to use this to create the kind of slash and open lines. Let's do that first. Now the good thing with this is I can actually just stick it onto the board and then put my plain tracing paper on top of it and then trace around it. Once I'd finished that, this is what the base dress looks like underneath. So it's got just a simple elastic waist, a crew neck, top, and just a gathered skirt all in one. And this is what the draped panel looks like over the top, just to get an idea of how it's draping, how it's sitting before I actually stitch anything together. And I kind of liked it with a belt, but this is what it looks like with the neck trim. So it's a neck band and an armhole band. And then this is me finally draping the top piece on top. Once I'd figured out the correct kind of draping dimensions, I just created a little seam on the shoulder of this panel and attached it with a kind of stretched elastic. So it was kind of pulling in on itself, but it sat quite comfortably along the shoulder seam on top of the dress that's underneath. And then I just spent some time draping it around the neck and getting the right amount of fullness and tension so that it sat better around the shoulders and the opposite shoulder. And then I realized in the end, I didn't want it too long. Like, I didn't want it to be so impractical that I couldn't do anything. I was going out for dinner before the movie with my mum and I didn't want it to be, too impractical. So I made it kind of sit just kind of on the elbow, maybe a little bit below the elbow. So it was a bit more easy to move around in it. I seriously loved how it looked and sat, like so comfortable, but also gives that kind of coverage on the upper arm that a lot of us ladies like. And yeah, it was just tied at the back. I mean, there it is with elastic, but I made a little self kind of rouleau band and tied it quite neatly. But I love how it looked. And once I knew I was happy with the draping, I just hand stitched the fold over piece onto the top shoulder seam and left it like that. I loved it. And this is the final dress. I'm so happy with it and actually loved it without the belt. But yes, perfect. Now, I definitely had a lot of feelings about the Odyssey film. I think a lot of people have, like you can see, so many people are just kind of losing their minds about it. There were some really key points that I liked and didn't like. The main things that I liked, as much as everyone hates the armor in it, I thought it was really beautiful. The main issue people have is with the flimsiness of the armor. But I found this amazing leatherwork artisan, essentially, who created created Telemachus's armor, like in the final scene. And it is made from leather. And that's why it's flimsy, is because it actually moves. And it's kind of painted and finished in a way that makes it look like metal. So I loved seeing the algorithms send me that way to see that beautiful work. I liked the fact that the gods were not turned into actual characters. They were kind of seen in different ways. So Poseidon, instead of being like a dude with like a trident, angry in the ocean, he is kind of symbolized through very ominous, very aggressive, very deep, dark ocean. You know, it's more symbolic. And that Zeus is kind of, you can see there's moments where Calypso looks up at the sky as if she's listening to someone talking to her. So I think there's parts of the film where they say that the gods are seen as symbolic as to how the ancient Greeks, I guess, saw the gods themselves in symbols and rolls of thunder and superstition, different things like that. So I really liked that kind of part of it. Now, for the things that I hated, because there are things in here that were really jarring. I think once you've read the poem or studied it for the last kind of 5 weeks, like I have, being part of the big book club, there was just so much missing. And I get it, like to orally perform that poem, it would take 21 hours. It was done in a lot of like events and stuff, but we missed so much. And the main thing that I was sad about is that we missed all the textile knowledge that was part of it. So by not having Nausicaa or Nausicaa, and I know I'm saying that wrong, or Queen Arete, like that whole language that they had where Odysseus went up on their beach and she dressed him in her brother's clothes that she was washing in the river and then sent him to her mum, which was Queen Arete, and she recognized the clothes that he was wearing because she would have woven them herself. Things like that, and how Helen gives Telemachus the robe for his future bride, but it's also this like textile communication with Penelope. Anyway, I've written a full debrief review of the film on my Substack. I'll link that below if you're interested, and all the kind of previous, I guess, research pieces from the lectures as part of the book club, because it was fantastic, like genuinely so fascinating and wonderful to look that deeply into a book, and then also get to have a film adaptation right at the end where you get to kind of see it all visually, or not see some parts, which is kind of sad. But yes, tell me if you've seen the Odyssey, what you thought of it in the comments below. I see people who are really enjoying it, other people who absolutely hated it, some people who just refused to see it flat out. So let me know in the comments. And thank you again to Birch Creative for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to buy any of their products, a lot of their stuff is at all different sewing shops. So check out your local great sewing shop. They'll most likely have Birch Creative products. And I'll see you in my next video.